McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Real people, real opinions, real talk radio. The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
We have been talking recently about Ireland and has it become dangerous? We heard in the news today that the US Embassy has advised visitors to Ireland to keep a low profile and to avoid walking alone. To quote, avoid walking alone if possible, especially during the hours of darkness. Do not wear or display expensive jewellery or watches to avoid carrying large amounts of cash. Avoid placing passports, cash, cell phones or other valuables in the outer pockets or backpacks or purses or on tables in public places. Other tips for American tourists are avoid staring at your phone while walking in public areas. Limit earbud headphone use while in public. Be mindful of your alcohol consumption. Keep a low profile. And this warning comes, of course, after the assault which left 57-year-old Stephen Termini with life-changing injuries. The American tourist was attacked by a group of youths in Dublin's north inner city last week, and he was staying at a guest house near Talbot Street. We know a teenage boy has been charged. This and other recent violent incidents in Dublin and across Ireland, there was a person stabbed in Galway and in Limerick, I believe, as well, last week too, have prompted an outcry. In a short while, I'll be asking you, is this an overreaction on the part of the US Embassy? When you hear of an embassy giving a warning, you think, wow, that's a big deal. That place must be really dangerous. Yet thousands of us call Dublin home. And although the recent attacks are horrific, they don't represent the real Dublin. An international warning like this is a signal to the rest of the world that this place has problems. But do we? It's a bit like when the teacher tells you your child is the worst in the class and you can't believe it. They're bad. But that bad? I want to know what you think. Is the warning to keep a low profile in Dublin by the US Embassy to American tourists way over the top? Or is Dublin really that bad? Has it become that bad? And if it really is that bad, why is the Minister for Justice still in a job? I want to take your calls. Do you believe Ireland, I won't just focus on Dublin, because there has been the same kind of antisocial behaviour in other cities around the country as well. Why do you think it's got so bad? The number is 087 188 0008 if you want to send us a message and come on the air and have a chat. Do you think Ireland has really become that bad? Now, before we take your calls, I'm joined by the crime photojournalist Pádraig O'Reilly, who witnessed teenagers committing a brutal assault this week. Pádraig, good afternoon, or good evening to you, should I say.
Afternoon. When you say you're a busy man, you're doing 2 shows a day. Huh?
Do you know, I never know what time of the day it is anymore. I'm losing track.
I know. If you were RTE jockey, you'd be on serious money now.
Oh, I would. I'd be getting paid twice. I'd be, if I was to go by Ryan Tubridy's money now, I'd be on nearly 900 grand.
Oh no, I'd say you'd be on the 7 figure. Yeah.
Pádraig, I mean, I seen your tweets during the week.
Sure.
And what actually happened in the situation you were in? You were obviously just doing your job, taking photographs, and what happened?
Yeah, well, after the incident last Wednesday that left our friend Stephen in hospital, still in a coma actually, I decided Monday, Tuesday, just to spend the day walking around, see is it as bad as people are saying? Is it that bad? You know?
Yeah.
And I have to report, sadly, and like you, I'm a dub like you, and we love this city, and it is bad, you know? Like we're talking, we're focus on an area from anywhere from, you know, Amiens Street right across to the Spire. Keep on walking up Mary Street, keep going, hang a left, cross the Liffey, big circle of a couple of K, and it's really bad. I mean, we seem to have left this whole street alcohol, drug use just rip away right across the city, We have these young gangs that they seem to like.
You're right, they are young. These are 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds. They're just running amok.
Like the 6 of them that were involved in this attack the other night, 4 of them were wearing hoodies and 2 had them down. And I'd say the majority of these lads are only 14 years of age, 15 max. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus, like I've seen it happen before. They can pack a punch, these boys.
Well, there's power in numbers apart from anything else. If there's 5 of them and one of you and they're only 14, you probably haven't got a chance. You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter who you are. Yeah. If you're outnumbered, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And the story, they'll just get you to the ground. And then they proceed. First, they always go to kick in the head. They go for kicks in the head. And on the video I have, they're all laughing while this is happening. That chap was actually on the ground, got a kick in the face. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's not, as you say, that's not the Dublin we grew up.
But I've seen videos. I only seen a video the other night. Somebody sent me a video, and this girl and guy were arguing. I think she was the girlfriend. She was in her car. She got out of a car to give out to him. He was a real looking scrote, and he goes down, grabs her by the hair, smacks her head off the side of the car, then sticks her in between the door and the car and starts slamming the door on her. And then she's out cold on the ground, and he starts kicking her. You know,
in Dublin.
In Dublin, and I say to myself, what have we turned into? I mean, what sort of human beings do that to each other?
Yeah.
I haven't been in, I don't know about you, Porrick, but I haven't been in a fight since I was in school at 13 years of age. I haven't laid a hand on anybody.
Yeah, I've never laid a hand on anyone.
And I wouldn't mind, he was my best mate, and I lost. It lasted the whole of 3 minutes. So, but I mean, what is with these children? And they are children. I mean, we've seen it in Cherry Orchard more recently with the Garda Síochána, ramming the Garda car, all that kind of carry on. And the same night, by the way, of course, that Stephen Timoney, or Termini should I say, had life-changing injuries. There was a man also stabbed in Galway, who was also moved to Beaumont Hospital, as far as I know. And there was somebody else, I believe, stabbed in Cork or Limerick too. What? Yeah, well, I mean, what is going on?
Well, there's obviously, we know there's a big problem with policing in the city. It's particularly in Dublin City. And most people that were out, like we as journalists were allowed to work during COVID on the streets because we were deemed as, like, you know, communication sort of officers, so necessary. So we were allowed to move around and observe. And geez, like, it was just like, you really know it's because the workers, the tourists, there was no one on the street, but there was still people like accessing their drugs, okay?
Yeah.
They have to come out with their drugs, you know?
Yeah.
The alcohol, and you could see them, and it was like a blank canvas, and then you have this, and you go, Jesus, fucking thousands of these people, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and it just, I don't know, since COVID, it's got worse and worse.
But if you were asked tomorrow, you know, by the Evening Herald or by the Times or whoever to grab a few photographs of, you know, the problems in the city, you wouldn't have a problem doing it. You could just go out. You'll go out and find it. It'll come to you.
No problem. That's why.
Just go down to the boardwalk on O'Connell Street. I mean,
I was astonished on Monday morning. Like, the first thing I decided, I'm on the north side. I said, can I get a dart in? And the first thing I came across was at the back of Tampa Bar there, facing out onto the quays on Lane, where a woman had been stabbed, and the remnants of the whiskey bottle, a nagging whiskey bottle, was still there. She'd been stabbed by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And then just walking up anywhere from Wellington Quay, go on to Merchants Quay, and it's crack cocaine central along there. It's incredible.
I haven't been in the city in so long. I mean, the radio station is up near the Three Arena. And the last time I went down, I had to go and meet somebody down at the Halfpenny Bridge, a bar down there. I was to meet a journalist down there for something. I can't remember what it was. That was about 4 years ago. And I remember walking down. I decided, it was a nice day, I decided to take a walk down. And I walked down towards the boardwalk. And as soon as I got down to the boardwalk, there was a load of, drug users boxing the heads off each other in the middle of the boardwalk. And it's just, and I said, and then I got down to the quays there where the Virgin Mega Store used to be. Which quay is that? Bachelor's Quay. And there again, more of them boxing the head off each other in the middle of the street. And I'm going, why? This is just, tourists seeing this carry on. It's just dangerous.
Yeah, you've like, okay, firstly, you've local Dublin people are going about their business, whether they're shopping, they're going to work, have their kids with them. And you have tourists. I saw tourists the other day coming up along Merchant and around the quay. They have to cross that. That's a really busy part of the city, for cars heading south. They have to cross the road with suitcases and that to avoid this clamber of crack cocaine and heroin smoking off tinfoil. It's shocking. And people just urinating against the wall. No regard for. Well, firstly, I think, Niall, it is sad. I mean, anyone that's caught up like in drug addiction it must be horrific. But they seem to get into this. They have no regard for themselves. And then they're not going to have regard for anyone else around them. You know, they're oblivious of their surroundings. You know,
But it's our fault, because I'll tell you, when I say it's our fault, it's not our fault, it's the Minister of Justice's fault. She's doing the blame has to lie with somebody. And we're failing miserably to police the streets. Now, I'm not blaming the Garda Síochána. They're under-resourced.
they really are.
But
when sort of the Kinnan Hutch feud really kicked off, you know, the Regency in February 2016, the Gardaí they unleashed hell against these gangs. They were given, it's like, I think in a space of 18 months, there was 100 million spent on that. There was a load of new lads recruited into the armed support units. They were given another, I was at the launch of that in Kings Park when Northern O'Sullivan was commissioner. They were given another, I think, half a dozen Q8s. They were tooled up and they crushed them, you know. So we don't need, it's not a firearm issue. It's not, you know, it's not an intelligence-led operations. We need the boys on the street. I mean, somebody suggested the other day, her name, I was on radio, another radio station, and she came on as a caller. She was originally from Dublin, now living in Galway. She was sickened recently on a visit home here. But she suggested, like, well, why don't we bring in the army? Now, to me, that's...
Somebody suggested that to me the other night as well, to bring in the army.
That might be rolling down the road too far. But is it possible to second a couple of hundred lads from the army into the Garda force, put them in uniform, and just like in New York in the old days, put them on every street corner across the city?
But that's what I said when I was a young fella. Yeah, when I lived in Edenmore, which was a rough joint.
Oh, come here, I'm Raheny, yes.
Yeah, yes. Well, mind you, we used to say we lived in Raheny because it sounded a bit posher than Edenmore. and the rough ones in Edenmore used to say we live in Coolock. Anyway, but I lived in Edenmore Gardens, right? And I always remember, like, as a kid, you'd be out playing ball, maybe during the summer at night at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. There'd always be two guards walking around on the beat. Yeah. And there was only the 5 roads, and they just keep doing the 5 roads over and over again. They just walk around.
That's all they gotta do. Yeah, and you're not gonna go up to any lad with those boys around.
No, because you thought they were there. And by the way, guards were different then. There was a different protocol. Right. You know, I mean, we had Smiley was one of them, you know, and he knocked the head off you, like, you know what I mean? If he caught you out late at night, and he knew where you lived. He knew where everyone lived. You know, he'd knock. And then there was another fella, what was he called? The Ghost Rider, I think. He was on a push bike, right? And so they would always know where you lived and what time you should be home. And they'd say, if you were hanging around the street corner, they'd send you home. They'd tell you to go home. Like, so, and there was a healthy fear of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no replacement for that type of policing, like, say, community policing or local guards in and out. So especially, like, if strangers started to appear in certain areas, like, they'll collate them and see what they're at, search them, and then see who they're meeting, collate it, and if someone else new comes in, collate them, and you form a circle. And then you get a picture of, right, there's something happening at that house, or it's this gang, or if something happens, we know we're going to pick them up.
But see, what they do in America is a very different situation. You've got 3 police forces. You've got the county police. You've got the whatever it is, the something. Yeah. So you have 3 different police, the local police, and they're all separate. They all operate separately, right? And so if we were to do something like that here, where we had administration dealing with the administration, like a guard sitting in a Garda station stamping passports, that's a pointless, or birth certs or whatever it is. Yeah, that's pointless. It's a waste of Garda time. They shouldn't be sitting in Garda stations doing paperwork. They should be civil servants and admin staff doing all that for them. They should be outside. Yeah,
because they serve, obviously, like, you know, there's a couple of them inside, say, you know, in the big stations like Store Street, Pear Street, and they're like, they're observing, like, high quality, a lot of banks of CCTVs, you know. We need their eyes, you know, because they can see it and they can radio their colleagues, you know. But elsewhere, I think, throughout the station, like, secretaries and, like guys like maybe you and me on the front, you know, answering questions, passports, signing in. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be a guard to do that. You know?
I mean, and it was Councillor Niall Ring was telling me there, and I was either Niall Ring or Christy Burke, the ex-Lord Mayor, was telling me that if you went to the local district court there in town any morning, he said, on a Monday morning, he said there's about 30 or 40 guards, you know, standing there waiting for a case to come up for somebody they've done over the weekend or whatever it is, right? And he said, what a waste of guard of time. They're standing in the courts all morning. And that's all across the country. Imagine how many guards all across the country are actually in courthouses. There's thousands of them sitting in a courthouse waiting all day for a case to be called. Again, that's a waste of time.
You know, like a lot of the time down the country, like you can have the court or the local inspector will do the do it, the court. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'll answer the answers for everybody. You know what I mean?
Well, and that should be the way it is. You shouldn't have to have every single, particularly for, closed, open and shut cases. You shouldn't have to have or if it's going to be something that's going to be adjourned anyway. There's no need for the guard to be there. He shouldn't have to be there. But they are.
But certainly, right now, this has to be. This needs a solution. Whether it's a temporary solution to a more
but what's McEntee doing? What's Helen McEntee doing?
Arms, the Yanks use it's putting boots on the street.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think by bringing a couple of lads up or girls up from Templemore is going to solve this.
No, it's not.
A couple of old boys, hardened boys around there, wide boys, to cull this. I really do.
Look, we've only got 1 Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, and as I said, the blame lies with her, whether she likes it or not. It's her Department of Justice. She's the one responsible. She has to take the blame. And, all I've heard all week is sound bites on RTE. That's not going to do it. That's not going to cut the mustard. I haven't heard any suggestions, really.
Yeah, well, I think she needs to kick in her finance minister's door and get some money and get some boys on the street. Or if they're all on overtime, put them on overtime, and that's it, and solve it. You know what I mean?
Just finally, Padraig, before you head off there, of course, I talked about Sinead O'Connor just before the.
Man,
yeah. You would have met Sinead yourself as well.
Yeah, a couple of times, and actually I tweeted it earlier on. I one great crack day with her. She was heading off to New York or not to LA, 2012, and an old colleague of mine, the son, Ken Sweeney.
I know Ken.
Yeah, and he rang me. He says, we'll go out and have a chat with her. She did a great crack with her for 20 minutes. Ken bought her a magazine for the airplane and all. She's in great form,
Yeah.
And it was just listening to her, you're talking about it there, and you've been saying that, like, she was getting back to being, in good form and planning a bit of a tour. So yeah, it's sad. It really is.
Yeah, but that's in her last tweet I was seeing there. Back in London after 23 years, I'm very happy to be home. So because she'd spent a lot of time there when she was younger, and she said, looking forward to the future. A tour planned for Canada and America for 2024. Wow. And I'm going. It seemed to be that she was looking in the right direction because, as we all know, she'd gone through a very difficult time. She'd been in and out of rehab and gone through a very difficult time. Or not rehab, but certainly she'd been in and out of counselling over the last few years. And I genuinely thought she was back on the up and up again, Yeah. But sadly not. Sadly not. Listen, Padraig, thank you very much indeed, and I appreciate you coming on the air tonight and talking to us, all right?
No, mind yourself.
Bye. Right. There you go. Padraig O'Reilly, crime photojournalist, and he himself notices it. If he's sent out by a newspaper, whatever it is, to get a few photographs, that's his job. Normally you'd kind of struggle. You'd have to go find stuff. But it comes to him, and it came to him the other night in Talbot Street. Same thing. Just 15, 16-year-olds. And that's what everybody's saying. It's that age group, that generation. There seems to be a cohort of these. I'm not saying all 15 and 16-year-olds, believe me. But certainly a cohort of them that don't seem to care. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on this. But I want to know yours and what's the answer. The number is 087 188 0008. That's 087 188 0008. I get videos from different journalists sent to me on a regular basis on a WhatsApp group of some of the violence around town. And some of it's quite shocking. And I'm getting the videos more and more. And it isn't any specific demographic, by the way. And before people ask, it's the bleeding foreign nationals in the country. Yeah, there is some foreign nationals obviously involved in violence, but there's equally Indigenous Irish involved in it as well. A lot of gangs have been around Pearse Street, around the city centre. I was sent to one there tonight with a fight between Deliveroo drivers and some other group of young fellas at flats. But for the American embassy to put out a warning for American tourists, avoid walking alone. Don't have any cash or jewellery on you. Keep a low profile. Don't be looking at your phone. Don't leave your phone or any of your valuables on a table in a restaurant. I mean, that looks really bad for Ireland. I want to know, do you think Ireland is really this bad? Do we deserve this reputation we've now got? And whose fault is it? The number's 087 188 0008. And what can we do to solve it? Let's not all point out the negatives. Let me go to Andy. Andy, hi, how are you?
Good evening, Mel. How are you?
Good. Andy, do we deserve the reputation now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you said it yourself, Mel. Sorry. Just jumping on. Yes, absolutely. We deserve the reputation. I would be in and out of town reasonably frequently along quays. I see drug dealing. You see people completely, as you probably described.
Off their face.
You see people sort of pulling their trousers down to shoot up in laneways, and you see large gangs. Not so much on the boardwalk, but you certainly see gangs. And my point that I made to the producer is that basically there's a massive problem. I have two teenage boys now, and let's just say, unfortunately, one of them did get jumped last year in town. I'm not going to go into it, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
He was nearly killed. Yeah, down by Connolly. Brought back in a police car. Then we went to A&E, and he was sat on by about 10 or 12 lads. Now, what the policeman said, he said it's like the Wild West around that area, you know. And if a guard says that to you, you know, there's something in it. And you know, it does not take a genius to sort of go, well, actually, there's risk out there. There's risk of being attacked. And another real thing that I think is there's a massive sort of there's a massive drive now towards gang culture that there never was when I was a boy, and that was many years ago. But with the advent of the internet and social media and all this stuff that you're receiving, there's an appetite in society for violence. And yeah, I mean,
But I don't understand it. See, maybe it's just my generation. Maybe it's just me. I don't understand it. I don't understand how one human being can kick the shite out of another. And when I see some of these videos, and there's a guy maybe on the ground, and there's a group of youths literally kicking his head.
Because now, one thing is, right, and I'm going to say this, if you want to go and be absolutely shocked and appalled, go and Google drill music, if you haven't sort of come across it. And it's basically like sort of gang, I mean, it's sick, violent, aggressive, you know, rap music that, you know, pertains to sort of violence, and money is the key to life. And there's lots and lots of, let's say, a Dublin artists, if you want to call them that, involved in this. It's absolutely horrendous. And I'd recommend that everybody goes and sees it. And then you might understand what's driving a lot of this sort of gang culture, because, you know, it's horrendous. But do
you think kids are different nowadays? I mean, when you look at even now, I know this might sound stupid, maybe there's no evidence to back it. But here's another thing, right? Video games. When you see kids playing, you know, these are the kids that would have played Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, which they can be desensitized to violence. Do you think they are?
I think scientific, you know, research has shown that if you put a kid playing Call of Duty and then show them some sort of actual real life tragedy, they don't respond the same way that people are shown it without playing violent video games before. So absolutely, there's an effect. But is it the real cause of the problem that we face at the moment? And I would be arguing that really social media, the widespread use and sharing of violence, and there's horrendous stuff.
I've seen a lot of it.
And WhatsApp and all this sort of stuff, and the TikToks and everything else that's out there, that basically people go, oh, let's post this and let's be sort of let's get likes for it, and that's basically how shallow and crap society's gone. So it shouldn't be too shocking to think that children can be drawn into this and then see this as the way forward. And hey presto, what do we get? We get people getting, you know, injured on the streets and ultimately the American embassy going, don't go to Dublin, lads.
Mind you, now, with the greatest respect to the American embassy, there are parts of America that you wouldn't want to visit as well. So, I mean, they can't really talk. At least we don't have guns. Mind you, some people do. But in saying that, it's not a good reputation to have. It's not good because we're the land of 1,000 welcomes. You know, it doesn't look like that at all now.
Well, I think, like I say, that there's a number of reasons why we've got this way. And I don't think you can blame it on one individual, because it's society. And yes, the guards are underfunded, and yes, I worked around town in 2016 when they did have the armed police on the street, when I was sort of in Smithfield and you pull up a set of traffic lights and there's a Toyota Land Cruiser next year full of, cops wearing balaclavas and ballistic helmets and carrying machine guns. That was what was going on around just after that, all the shootings that were going on. And yeah, they were down there, checkpoints on the road, but that was quite targeted at criminal organisations, as opposed to what we're seeing now, which is youth culture and the joining in of gangs, which then...
Okay, well, hang on for a second. And Caroline will be with you in a second. Just let me go to Alan first, because he's been waiting a while as well. Alan, hi, how are you?
Good night, how are you?
Good. Alan, do we deserve this reputation that the American Embassy are giving us? This is not good for tourism, but do we really deserve it?
Well, would we really have heard about this if the American Embassy didn't call it out? Because, my opinion is we need to come down, hammer down on top of this now and stamp this crap out. And having Helen McEntee prancing around with a couple of guards around her saying the streets are safe.
For a photo shoot.
She needs to be removed. She's the same woman after that poor teacher was raped and killed that said she's afraid to go out running herself. She's the feckin' minister for feckin' justice who doesn't take her head over her own arse and do her job. But people will still vote her back in, and she'll still get the words in RT, the little sound bites for herself. These little scumbags need to be dealt with. Why can't we have courts running to midnight or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning? So if a guard arrests someone in the street, to bring them straight to court.
Yeah.
Done and dusted there and then. Why are we doing this? See, this happens in liberal left-wing society. You get people who can't be held responsible, that they get away with everything.
But there was a time when Johnny, 14-year-old Johnny or Mary, if they did something wrong, they were chucked into St. Pat's. They were the days. St. Pat's is gone now, as you know.
Well, it's probably full of migrants now or something else.
Well, I don't know. It's gone anyway. We don't have those kind of juvenile centres unless you commit a very serious crime. We don't have... there's Oberstown, all right, for very serious young offenders. But we don't have somewhere we can just chuck, teenagers. And I think we should go back to that. They should be put into some sort of boot camps. Or look what they do in America. You're 16, you commit a crime in America. You got into a cell. You know what I mean?
But that's what should happen. Well, we've a couple of army barracks that are lying empty at loan or somewhere.
Put them in a cell for a couple of weeks, calm them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why can't we turn these into a place where, if you're 16, you commit those crimes, you're going there for 3 weeks, and have the guys, whether it's the army guys there, that will just make them feckin' suffer and put them through crap and teach them a lesson. And if their parents want to step up, then they can pay for it, or the parents can go join them there as well, the cop on. But we keep dealing with this with kid gloves and go, we're doing our best. They have a bad upbringing. God love them. Yeah, but it is time we come down hammer on this now and deal with these people.
Yeah, sorry, Andy. What are you trying to say, Andy?
I'm flabbergasted. You actually think you can have enough resources, to actually round up all the little petty drugs dealers that are out there that are sort of, touting the wares, and then all the sort of, let's say, the upper level violence that goes to support that stuff. It's endemic in society, and again. You think like shipping out a few squaddies onto the street and chucking a couple of lads in is going to change what we've got? I think really.
What's going to? Well, see, we're all telling each other what's wrong. What's going to sort it?
Root cause is address how the effing hell we ended up this way, and I would actually argue a lot of this is down to sort of I'd say it's down to capitalism for a start. I'd say it's the whole sort of joy of how we are so manipulated by the internet that we can't even.
You can't stop that, unfortunately, Andy. That's not our call.
It's not a fault. That's what I'm saying now. This isn't actually just saying this is a fault. This is to blame somebody. This is where we are, and I think you need to, let's say, respectfully have a look at how the fuck we ended up this way. And a lot of it is, as you said, what's the big difference between me and kids these days? Well, we didn't have smartphones back in 1980. That's for sure. It was. You look stuff up. It wasn't the instant.
Well, in the UK now today, I know they're suggesting banning smartphones in all schools.
Yeah, and what a good idea that'll be, because to be honest, I bet you every teacher in Ireland would agree with that. Because number one, people use smartphones to intimidate people, to record them, to video them.
That's exactly the problem. They're video and recording bullying, they're recording bullying, everything.
And then they're sharing it now. And then we've got absolute fucking idiots that have an appetite for this stuff, that think it's great and it's harmless. And then we actually sit there and go, we're having this conversation about, we've got to the stage ultimately where the American Embassy is saying this isn't a safe place. But it's a result. It didn't just happen. It's
no, it wasn't just that one incident the other night. That was just the nail in the coffin, so to speak.
I had 27 years living in Dublin, and I started living in the mountains. and I used to drink down in Campions on the North Wall, and I've been, let's just say, I've toured, Dublin over the last, number of years, and I drive, and I'm out and about, and I see things, and I see the change in society, and absolutely, we've gone from, once upon a time in 1996, we didn't have North Face was a brand for mountaineers. Now it's the uniform of every little sort of wannabe. And like I say, you go and look at this gang stuff that's out there in this drill, sick, Niall.
Okay. Well, hang on. I want to bring Caroline in as well. She's waiting ages. Caroline, hi. How are you?
Hi, Niall.
Caroline, do we deserve this reputation?
We do.
Mm.
We do. The only way to stop this is to bring harsher. They need to be named and shamed. Kids need to be named and shamed. They need to be put into a place like Bryn back, bring some places like that. Now, I'm a bus driver. I drive buses every day in Dublin, and what I witness is horrific. I witnessed the intimidation. I was sitting yesterday outside the Wax Museum, and the Lewis could take a good while to go by. So I was sitting there for at least about 5 minutes on a bus, and I witnessed 3 boys, and they were no more than 13. And what they were actually doing to one man walking across, they kept following this man across O'Connell Street Bridge. He was standing at the traffic lights.
Yeah.
And no matter what way he turned, they were up against him. And he kept kind of turning around to say, will you leave me alone? This man was in his 60s. And they just wouldn't leave him alone. And then he turned down to go down the quays, and they followed him. So he said, right, I'll go back up. It's every day I see it. I see kids getting their phones robbed every single day. I see kids getting beaten up every day. What I witness every day is unbelievable.
Yeah, because you're in and out of the city all the time. Yeah, so.
Oh, come on! Even throughout COVID, there was no such thing as a lockdown in Dublin during COVID. I had to go to work. I moved out of Dublin years ago. I wouldn't go back to Dublin if you gave me a house free mortgage. I would never go back to Dublin. What I witnessed children, innocent kids, getting on the bus, and they'll go upstairs, and I just say to them, don't go upstairs, sit downstairs, because I know if they go upstairs and a gang gets on or someone else gets on, I can't protect them.
Yeah.
It's terrible, and to me, the only way to solve all this, right, is kids know today. Kids know that they can go and they can wreck a bus and nothing can be done. They know they can go into a shop. I see them going into Pennies and annoying the security people. I see them going into all the centres and all that, and they're robbing. And there's nothing the security can do. There's nothing you can do against these kids because they know the law is with them.
And if you touch them, you're up for assault. Yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, they know they can do all this. And
well, we've also stopped the police, the guards, from doing their job. I seen an interesting story in the UK there today. A police officer in the UK watched a burglar climb out the window of an apartment down the gutter, and he tased him, I think, as he got to the bottom of the gutter. Right, the police officer got 12 months community service.
Yeah, it's terrible for
tasing a criminal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. All I see is, them Deliveroo cyclists. Now, I know they're always in and out of traffic. I'm not going to give out about them. But I see them getting attacked all the time. They're delivering. And even on TikTok, that's all you see on TikTok is them getting attacked all the time. And it's terrible. Like, it is terrible that you can't walk around Dublin City anymore. I'm from Dublin. I don't even feel safe in Dublin. I would be a very brave person. But at the moment, I don't feel safe anymore in Dublin. Because
because you're witnessing all this and you're seeing the old man getting intimidated, you see kids getting beaten up, do you see many guards?
No. But even when if I do see 1 or 2 guards, they're just walking around. Their hands are tied because there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, but are they present? Isn't that a problem when you don't see a presence of Garda Síochána?
No, I don't see guards. And the same with checkpoints. I never see a checkpoint. I travel 220 kilometres a day up and down to work. And I never get through a checkpoint. I think the last checkpoint I went through was about a year and a half ago.
I haven't been to a checkpoint. Well, the last checkpoint I went through was through COVID on the motorway.
Yeah, I have.
And that was stopping people from leaving the 6K zone. That was. But I had an exemption, so I was fine. But that was the last checkpoint I seen.
Eden Quay is the worst place. Eden Quay and Bachelor's Walk and Aston Quay is the worst place. And you'd see all the tourists walking up and down towards Guinness's and all that. And all you can see is kids on bikes, and they're in and out of traffic on these scooters, and they're just fleecing the phones off people and grabbing the jewellery off people.
That's not good.
And you see them. I see the Chinese.
So in other words, what you're saying is this warning the embassy has put out to tourists: we deserve it.
Yeah, like I know you said a second ago about America, right? I love America, right? And there is places where you'd never go. You'd never go downtown LA.
Yeah, you'd never go parts of Chicago or anything like that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there is places, right? And there is places that you wouldn't probably, people say, well, don't go near that place in Dublin. But O'Connell Street, Armenian Road, should not be like that.
No.
And O'Connell Street is not, and like, I do look at Cleary's. I've been looking at Cleary's every day since it's been rebuilt. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look at the amount of money that's gone into that and the business and what it's going to do. And when you walk outside that, what the crime is outside, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's
and it's a
well, everyone says it. I mean, O'Connell Street's a kip. Sorry, Alan, what are you trying to say?
Yeah. It's a terrible indictment of this country, right? That you get the shit kicked out of you, right? Battered to an inch of your life, right? And you'll wait for guard because they're on the resource, right? Well, if I say a couple of hurty words there on social media, I'll have the guards around to arrest me for offending someone. That's where we're going.
That's what the Minister for Justice has been very focused on lately, which is the hate speech laws. In other words, let's really focus and spend our whole year focusing on laws that we'll bring in case we hurt somebody's feelings. But in the meantime, people are going around kicking the heads off each other.
There needs to be a place in Ireland where kids have to go. If you're bold, if you do something wrong, and I mean if you attack somebody, you rob somebody, you're selling drugs. Like, I have a 15-year-old son, right, and you were saying a few minutes ago about playing Grand Theft Auto, right? He plays Grand Theft Auto, but he's a good kid. He's never going to be involved in crime like that the way others. So you can't kind of say all 15-year-olds are like that.
No, I'm not saying it's the game directly that makes them do these things.
Yeah.
But what I did say is, I do believe these games, like the Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty or whatever it is, that, and some of them are really violent, because I know I play them because I have, but I think for younger kids, I'm not going to say it makes them violent because there's no statistical evidence of that, I don't think. But I certainly do believe there's evidence to show that it does desensitize them to violence. So in other words, if they're willing to play Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty or whatever it is, and they receive a video by WhatsApp from one of their mates of somebody getting their head kicked in, they laugh at it.
Yeah.
Instead of being horrified by it.
I do believe it's scum raising scum.
No, you're right. You're right. It's thugs raising thugs. Yeah.
Classic Hits Radio.
We were talking to Caroline before the break. There's a bus driver who firsthand sees everything on a daily basis because she's basically the eyes and ears of everybody because she's driving around all day through the city. But let me just go to Malachy. Caroline, wait there for a second. Malachy, hi, how are you?
Yeah. Good evening, Niall.
Okay, well, I mean, look, you're working close to the city there as well. Your office is close to the city, but not as close as you used to be when you're on Talbot Street.
Yeah, I was on Talbot Street. And just to clarify where this attack actually took place, it took place in Store Street. And I don't know why people keep saying Talbot Street. It took place about 20 yards from the biggest police station in the country.
Okay, but that's just one attack, Malachy. We're talking.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that now. But I'm just making the point that if somebody can be beaten to that level by a gang of young thugs outside a police station,
the biggest police station in the country,
there's something fundamentally wrong. And how many times have we been on your programme and other programmes going on about the level of antisocial behaviour and crime in the city, not just in Dublin, but in Limerick, Cork, Dundalk. Every town and village in this country now has a problem.
So what is the problem and where did it all start?
Okay, well, I'll deal with those things sequentially. Now, one of the things you mentioned was about all the cops that will be up in the CCJ. In general, that has changed. Now a court presenter, a sergeant, will deal with all of the cases, and the cop doesn't need to be there unless he has to be there. So that's changed, right?
Well, it was Christy Burke was telling me about that the other day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm in the courts regularly. Yeah. That's the position. The cops are only there if they have to be, and that will only be when they to give evidence about the actual case, right? Mm-hmm. Well, how do we solve it, right? Firstly, if you were going for trial in the circuit court, right? Now, remember, most people go to the district court first. And you will be at least 6 or 7 months going through that before you're sent forward for trial, before you get your book of evidence, right? You're sent forward to the circuit court. You'll appear in the circuit court. You will get if you are in there today, you will be lucky to get a trial date before the middle of 2025. There is nowhere else in the world that happens, right? And you're on bail for that time, right? Now, if you are charged for the problem in this country is one of the problems is the bail laws. There should be no automatic right to bail. People should who are in for serious offences, like for instance somebody charged in relation to this particular assault or any other assault, they should be denied bail, as they are in every other country, and they get a swift trial. We have a system here that seems to penalise the victims continually. We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough courts. And it's all very well people saying courts should sit through the night. Judges are often called in the middle of the night to courts to have somebody arraigned before them or charged before them or brought before so there can be remanded. But, there's no real difficulty in keeping somebody in a cell overnight and bringing them up to the CCJ at 10:30 in the morning. I mean, that's not the problem. Years ago, you had a sergeant in a station would decide if you were to be charged. Now it's a file to the DPP, which sits in the DPP's office for God knows how long, before somebody decides whether there should be a charge or not. And you're out running around the streets in between.
But here's the thing, Malachy. Sorry for interrupting. Hang on. I'm short of time, and I'm going to come back to you after the news anyway, right? But in relation to what Caroline is saying, let's deal with one thing if we can. Before they even get to the point of being charged and going to court, we're talking about, antisocial behaviour, which many of them don't even end up in court. The ones that give someone the odd hiding in town or intimidate an old man, as Caroline's seen, walking through town, or the drug users, they never go to court. They're boxing the heads off each other on the boardwalk. All that kind of stuff. People robbing mobile phones, they don't end up in court. They never get caught. So you
need a visible police presence on the street. You can walk from Connolly Station to the boardwalk via Talbot Street, and you won't see one cop. That is a problem. They need to be on the streets, and there's no point in sending 5'2" young fellas out who are straight out of town.
Well, where are you going to get these people? Where are you going to breed them or something? Because
firstly, we need. Who would be a cop in this country? You would want to be mad, Niall. Look at what happened. The guard who was trying to stop 3 well-known burglars who drove the wrong way down a motorway. Luckily, they only killed themselves rather than other people. He's now facing charges. What does that say to a cop? It says to the next cop, well, I'm not going to chase them. Let them do what they want. There's something fundamentally wrong in this country. And when you have a Minister for Justice, and, I said this in a speech earlier, she's the worst Minister for Justice we have had in this country. And
that's your opinion, okay? Yeah, that's your entitled opinion.
Well, let's say if the vote in the GRA tomorrow of no confidence in the Commissioner and Drew Harris passes, well, then he'll have to go. And then she'll have to go with him. Now, there is no...
the blame does squarely lie at her feet. She's responsible for crime and for preventing crime.
You cannot have a Minister for Justice in a country which is lawless, who goes on maternity leave twice during her term of office, and they appoint a bigger clown in our place. There's something fundamentally wrong, and it's a total disrespect for the electorate and the people of this country when the political class seems to think it's totally exempt from the consequences of its actions, and that political office is there for them, not to serve the people, just for their egos and for their... she walked down into Star Street the other day, for a photo.
I saw the photograph, yeah.
And one only has to look at Pascal beside her to know what he thought of it, and it's his constituency. It beggars belief that these people are anywhere near the levers of power. And I suppose it's somewhat thankful that they really don't make the decisions in this country. That's left to the gobshites in Europe to do, because...
Okay, but look, we've got over time here.
God help us if they had their hands on a nuclear button or anything.
Yeah, well, we've got over time slightly here for the news, but I do want to come back to Caroline very briefly. Caroline, you've been listening to what Malachy said. He believes the court system is a huge part of the problem. The delay in getting people to trial. The fact that, you've got toe rags who commit crimes, petty crimes be it, and they're out on bail for 2 or 3 years, you know what I mean, before they even eventually...
He's 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he said is completely right. We need to change the whole law system in this country. People are going to prison for no TV licence, but if you attack somebody, you don't go to prison. Doesn't make sense.
There's a woman from Cork in prison for breaching COVID legislation, for not wearing a mask.
I remember that, yeah.
And yet, an individual charged with a very serious assault is wandering the streets to beat more people up.
Yeah. And all of these kids have previous convictions, previous.
By the way, Caroline, have you ever been attacked on the bus?
No. No. And I'm 21 years driving. No, I haven't. But I was on O'Connell Street one day and I was nearly mugged only for someone to kind of came behind me and cop the person that was kind of going to do it. But no, and I don't have my screen up, which I should, but no, I don't. I never have been, but I don't show them any fear either, because if you show people fear, then they kind of walk all over you. But no, I'm happy. I'm happy on the bus, but what I witnessed going around Dublin, it's just scary to think when I started all them years ago was completely different.
And so you've seen the change in the last 20 years?
Oh my God, yeah. I've seen the change completely, and it's scary for our children growing up. What's going to become of them? Like, I don't want my son just to say to me when he grows up and he gets older, he's going to go into, like, if he goes into Dublin, I would go with him. If he goes nightclubbing, I would be behind him.
Yeah. Sorry, Malachy.
He'll be emigrating because there'll be nothing here for him.
There's nothing here for him, no.
Real people, real opinions. Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.